Hi guys, in our lesson 145 I will teach you the future continuous in Spanish. So what is the future continuous? For example, I will be speaking, I will be eating, I will be walking. In Spanish we say yo estaré hablando, yo estaré comiendo, yo estaré caminando, right? The future continuous in Spanish is exactly the same, so I don't need to explain when and how to use it, right? But I will show you here how to conjugate the future continuous in Spanish, okay? So, as usual, we will begin with the first group of Spanish verbs. We classify the Spanish verbs in three different groups, and each group has its rules for conjugating its verbs, right? So we have the first group with the verbs that end in ar, second group with the verbs that end in er, and the third group are the verbs that end with the letters ir or ir. So let's begin with the first group of verbs, that is the biggest of the three groups and the one that has less irregular verbs, okay? And we will choose the verb hablar as a typical regular verb of this classification, okay? Hablar means to speak. So, as an example, we say, yo estaré hablando. I will be speaking. We use the auxiliary verb estar, right? Estaré hablando. Estaré is a conjugation of the verb estar. Same as in English, will be, okay? We are using the auxiliary verb to be for this tense, okay? And in Spanish, since what goes conjugated, what changes from one pronoun to the other is the auxiliary verb, then we can actually use this rule for regular verbs and irregular verbs, okay? You will see right now why. We'll begin with the first subject pronoun, I. Yo estaré hablando. I will be speaking. Tú estarás hablando. You will be speaking. Él estará hablando. He will be speaking. Or ella estará hablando. She will be speaking. Usted estará hablando. You will be speaking. Remember that usted means you, but tú is the informal or friendly you, and tú is the informal or friendly you, and usted is the formal or respectful you, okay? Spanish is a formal language, and we use the formal you, right? The usted when we address somebody that is much older than us, or somebody that has a status that requires some respectful distance or special respect, or also when we address somebody that we do not know, right? Like somebody in the street or a customer, etc. Nosotros estaremos hablando. We will be speaking. Vosotros estaréis hablando. You will be speaking. Ustedes estarán hablando. You will be speaking. Ellos estarán hablando. They will be speaking. Now let's pass to our second classification of Spanish verbs, the verbs that end with the letters er. Example, the verb comer, or to eat. Comer, you can see that it ends with the letters er. That's why the ending is written in red. And those two last letters indicate what group the verb belongs to. In blue, what remains after stripping out the ending is the root of the verb, okay? The root of the verb, you can see here, that remains unchanged. Example, yo estaré comiendo. I will be eating. We are using the auxiliary verb estar. Yo estaré comiendo. Tú estarás comiendo. Él estará comiendo. Nosotros estaremos comiendo. Vosotros estaréis comiendo. Ustedes estarán comiendo. Ellos estarán comiendo. So you can see how what changes is the auxiliary verb, the conjugation, okay? And the verb we are conjugating, the verb comer, remains always the same here. Comiendo, 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 okay? So, of course, the ending yendo is different for this group than it is for the first group, okay? For the first group, the verbs that end with ar, the ending was ando, hablando, hablando. And for this second group, as well as for the next group, the third group of verbs, the ending is yendo, right? Yendo, comiendo, comiendo, comiendo. So, so have that in mind and remember the right ending for each one of the three big groups of verbs. So now let's end with the third and last group of verbs, the verbs that end with ir. Example, verb vivir, to live. Yo estaré viviendo. I will be living. We are still using the verb estar as the auxiliary verb. Yo estaré viviendo. Tú estarás viviendo. Él estará viviendo. Nosotros estaremos viviendo. Vosotros estaréis viviendo. Ustedes estarán viviendo. Ellos estarán viviendo. So you can see here the ending, what is colored in red. The ending is the same for the second and for the third group of verbs, right? The one that is different is the first one. Here it is yendo. In the first group it is ando. Okay? So this rule applies to all the Spanish verbs. Okay? You just need to determine by looking at the ending of the verb, that those are the last two letters of the verb in infinitive. You have to determine what group the verb belongs to, okay? And then you conjugate it appropriately, okay? According to these rules that I have shown you in this PowerPoint video lesson. So this is the end of our lesson 145. This is also the end of our lessons where I'm showing you the modo indicativo. And in the next lessons, I will start teaching you the modo subjuntivo, right? Modo subjuntivo has 6 more verbal tenses or conjugations. Okay, so I will, I will teach you those other 6 conjugations, and then we will finish with all the different tenses that we have in Spanish. So if you have any questions or any doubts, you can send them to me. You can submit them through my YouTube channel or through my blog. You can go to the description of the video, and there you can find my blog written. So it will be my pleasure to answer any questions you may have. So I see you in our next lesson. Goodbye.